Hi, I'm Amy Davies. I am the CEO of First 30, and I'm very happy to be here today speaking with Dean Benard. Dean, why don't you tell everyone who you are and what you do?
Well, thanks, Amy. Happy to be here. And I'm the CEO of Benard Associates. We're a conflict resolution firm that provides investigation and mediation services to deal with workplace conflict, workplace disputes. It's one of our, one piece of our company, but it's right now the biggest piece of our company. We're rapidly growing and doing many investigations in a variety of different workplaces.
It sounds intense, but very much needed. And I know you and I have spoken before, but I know we were going to talk about an idea that you wanted to share and some insight that you wanted to share with HR professionals about investigations.
Yeah, my thought that I really want to share today is the idea of selecting your investigator carefully. Sure, a lot of HR folks investigations typically falls to the HR department. And when it does, a lot of them sometimes they can do the investigation internally, and you have that expertise internally, but oftentimes you do need to go external. And quite frankly, external investigators are probably the better way to go. Admittedly, a little bit costly at times, but definitely the better way to go, because you get that true sense from the parties of, there's no bias, there's no conflicts, that people feel more comfortable sometimes speaking to somebody who's external. But when you are looking to go external, and this is the real point today that I want to make, you've got to be careful in terms of who you select to be your investigator. There is a lot of people out there. It's like anything else. Once people discover there's a way to make some money, they hang a shingle. I'm this, I'm that, I'm the other thing. And what often we find is there's a lot of people out there who are a jack of all trades and a master of none. And I've spent the last 25 years staying in my lane, and so has my team. And so I'm not going to lie to you, we kind of resent people who just suddenly decide they're a workplace investigator, and we see a lot of the messes that they create and that we have to clean up. And so you really need to look carefully at who you hire.
Yeah, I can totally see what you're saying about a lot of people coming into an industry, especially now, because you must notice that workplace investigations are picking up these days, and probably for good reason, right? People aren't as worried now about speaking up, which is a really good thing. And I totally take your point. It is really difficult when you are in an organization, even if you're on the HR team, to start speaking to team members. These are team members you might see every day and have relationships with. You might have relationships with them beyond, of course you would, beyond this investigation. And I'm sure that from a legal standpoint, it's very valuable to have a credible investigator in to support the team.
Absolutely. And that's why it's important to do your research when you are deciding to bring on somebody external. As I say, there's a lot of people that will just say they're workplace investigators because they think in investigations and investigations and investigation, but it isn't. Workplace investigations require nuance. They require an understanding of many different pieces of legislation and policies and how they apply. And the number one thing you're looking for is competence and experience. And, we all have to start somewhere, admittedly. But when a lot is on the line when you're bringing in an external party, and when you're doing an investigation, careers often are on the line, and you want to make sure that you've got somebody who has that requisite background. So you have to ask those questions, right? Just because they have the label, ask the questions. What types of investigations have you done? Where have you done them? They don't have to disclose specific clients, but they can certainly speak to the industries they've worked within, whether they've been done, if you're a healthcare organization or an educational institution, has the person you're considering for investigations to do your investigation, do they have experience in those sectors? Because again, there's nuances within different areas of work, right? And so it's important that you look into that. So you have to ask those questions, and get them, maybe even get references from individuals who want to do this work for you.
And everyone that's watching today, Dean, should know that you trained a lot of workplace investigators, right? So, and also you've been in business for almost 20 years now. So that's an important consideration as well. As you were saying, you know, people starting out, you want to give people a chance, but at the same time, you want to give them a chance with this. So my question would be, what are some of the triggers if I'm an HR professional? Because some things can be simple issues, can be investigated internally, but there may be triggers that say to you, okay, right now's a good time to give Dean a call. What would some of those triggers be?
Well, I think the first trigger should be when you feel a little out of your depth. You know, you're right. I train a lot of people that would like to be workplace investigators or that want to enhance their skill set. And it's important that they do that. But, you know, just because you took the course, there are going to be certain kinds of investigations where you know, and the classic one that I always say, because of inflation, I now say if I had a dollar and not a nickel, but I always get asked the question, you know, what do I do when it's a he said, she said, and I have no witnesses and no other evidence? How do I decide? And as soon as you're asking yourself that question, and you don't know the answer to that question, that should be one of the first things that you think about is, okay, you know, what am I really feeling comfortable with this? The other thing to think about too is who's involved in the investigation. For example, if you're working in the HR department and you're maybe an HR manager or even an HR generalist working in a company, and the complaint is about the CEO or the COO or some VP, are you really going to be comfortable conducting an investigation, asking the tough questions, possibly coming to the conclusion about somebody so high in the organization without feeling some fear of reprisal or retribution? Right. You know, it's an awkward position to be put in when asked to do an investigation about somebody who's 3 or 4 levels above your place within the organization. So that would be another thing that you know, you should look at. And then as well, sometimes the people involved in an investigation are people that have maybe come through the HR department for other reasons. You've had prior dealings with people, and you have to always think about it from the perspective of the parties. Are they going to be comfortable with you as the investigator? If you've had dealings with people before, even positive or negative dealings, the parties are looking at your relationship to them, not just to themselves, but to the other party. And if there's some sense that you might not be able to do the investigation in an impartial, neutral, and fair way, if they think you might be biased in some way, then regardless of how good a job you do in the investigation, there will always be questions about.
Yeah, they'll always question it. Yes, absolutely. That's such a great point. Now, if people want to get a hold of you and find out more about what you do, Dean, where should they go?
Well, you can go to our website, benardinc.com, and that's Benard, B-E-N-A-R-D, not Bernard.
I've made that mistake before, haven't I?
That's okay, Amy. You're in good company. Many people have made that mistake. But benardinc.com is our website. You can find me on LinkedIn, just Dean Benard. I think I might be the only one on there. So you can certainly find me there.
Thank you so much. It's always such a pleasure talking to you. And I'll tell you, when we first met, we met through Nina Gupta. Yes. And I always take her advice on the people I surround myself with. So if you've got her as your advocate, I believe, although you've given me every reason to believe in you from the point that we met through her. But anyway, I want to thank you so much for joining today. I know this information is going to be really valuable to our network.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.